Good evening, I'm HRFunk, and welcome to my annual Halloween special. Last year we had a frighteningly good time sharing ghost stories, and this year I thought we could have just as much fun as I recount to you my all-time favorite Halloween movies. When I was a child, I stayed up far too many nights, way too late, watching those old black and white horror movies from the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. And I absolutely loved them. And I still love them. And every year, when Halloween comes around, I enjoy watching them again. So for this year's Halloween special, I'm going to go back over my list of top 5 Halloween movies. And when I'm done, I'd like to hear yours. Number 5 is a true classic. It stars Lon Chaney Jr., Claude Rains, Bela Lugosi, Evelyn Ankers, and Maria Ouspenskaya. It is the 1941 version of The Wolfman. And it is one of the movies that I can remember from my earliest days of watching horror movies. This movie has always struck me for several reasons. First, it does a tremendous job of creating the mood. And these older movies couldn't rely on special effects to create the mood. It had to be done with music, lighting, and acting. And in this movie, you really start to feel sorry for Larry Talbot, played by Lon Chaney Jr., because he's an unintentional monster. At the beginning of the movie, he is an average guy, he is happy-go-lucky, but ultimately, through no fault of his own, he is attacked and becomes a werewolf. And when he discovers what is happening to him, he tries to get people to help him. He tries to get them to listen to him, but of course, no one believes in werewolves. And by the end, he is unfortunately killed by his own father. But in true monster fashion, he later is resurrected in sequel movies. And I'll talk about one of those coming up later on. But again, number 5 on my list of favorite Halloween movies is The Wolfman. Number 4 is the most recent movie on the list, and even so, at this point it's nearly 30 years old. But it also has the distinction of being the only movie on the list that's in color. Coming to us from 1992, it is Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. And it stars Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, and Gary Oldman in the title role. The reason I like this movie so much, of all the screen adaptations that there have been of the novel Dracula, this one is the most true to the novel. And that novel is one of my all-time favorite stories. I reread that periodically and I enjoy it every time. And many times the movie adaptations have taken so many liberties with the story that it's almost unrecognizable. And there are a few liberties taken in the Francis Ford Coppola version, but in all, it is the most true to the novel. It is one that I enjoy very much, and it's good enough to be number 4 on my list of all-time favorite Halloween movies. Number 3 is a movie that I probably saw when I was much too young. And if you ever wonder why I'm the way I am, a lot of it might have to do with watching movies just like this one. And this is a movie that actually frightened me, and I can remember being a young child watching this movie, and there's one scene in particular that I'll describe momentarily that sticks in my memory to this day. It is the 1959 version of A House on Haunted Hill, starring the incomparable Vincent Price. In this movie, a group of people are offered a large sum of money to spend one night in a haunted house, and Vincent Price orchestrates the entire affair. During the course of the night, you meet his wife, and Vincent Price and his wife don't get along real well, and you find out eventually that she is conspiring to kill him. But in the end, he turns the tables on her, and that scene that I mentioned is the one, if you've seen the movie, with the skeleton walking across the floor and speaking in Vincent Price's voice. I still remember that. I still remember how chilling that was, and I still enjoy watching that movie to this day. the 1959 version of A House on Haunted Hill is my third favorite in my list of all-time favorite Halloween movies. Number 2 is a movie that I've seen more times than I can remember. And even so, I still enjoy watching it time after time. And even though this movie was produced well into the era of colored motion pictures, it was produced by choice in black and white. And that choice came from the movie's creator. In case you haven't guessed already, I'm talking about the 1974 Young Frankenstein by Mel Brooks. The movie stars Gene Wilder, Marty Feldman, Terry Garr, Peter Boyle as the monster, Madeline Kahn, and Cloris Leachman as Frau Blucher. It is a zany homage to the Frankenstein movies that were produced back in the 1930s and 1940s, and I think that's part of what makes it so good. Even though it's a spoof, it still doesn't totally trash or make fun of those original classic movies. It really, as I said, is an homage, and I enjoy it. It's fun, it's funny. I can watch it with my whole family. When my daughter was little, it wasn't too scary for her, although there are a couple of parts that are somewhat racy, but otherwise it's an extremely fun movie. And of course, at the end, the monster played by Peter Boyle demonstrates his ability to become far more educated as a result of the brain power he gets from Dr. Frankenstein. And of course, Dr. Frankenstein, or Frankenstein, gets something from the monster as well. So again, number 2 on my list is a fantastically entertaining film. It is Young Frankenstein from Mel Brooks. And we're now up to my favorite Halloween movie of all time. And I think one of the biggest reasons that I have always enjoyed this movie so much is because it features 3 of the classic monsters that appeared in many of those movies that I used to watch in my youth. It also, much like Young Frankenstein, is extremely entertaining, and it is a fun movie. And this is the 1948 classic Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. In this movie, Bud and Lou are at their absolute best. And as I said, they are doing battle with 3 of the all-time classic monsters. And 2 out of those 3 are played by the iconic actors that made those roles famous. Bela Lugosi plays Count Dracula, and Lon Chaney Jr. plays the Wolfman. And as I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the movie The Wolfman, Lon Chaney Jr. is extremely iconic in that role. He made several appearances as Larry Talbot, aka the Wolfman. I believe Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein was the last time he appeared in that role, but he was so iconic that no other actor played the Wolfman for nearly 70 years until the movie, the original Wolfman, was remade in 2010. And after seeing that new adaptation, I wish another 70 years had passed before another actor played the Wolfman. In any case, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein is a tremendous movie. Glenn Strange plays the monster in this movie, and I believe this is the only time he played Frankenstein's monster. And he does a tremendous job. As I said, Bud and Lou are just as funny as ever. The movie is tremendous, and it is just absolutely my favorite all-time Halloween movie. And there you have it, folks. That's my top 5 favorite all-time Halloween movies. Now I'd like to hear yours. Oh, by the way, I have one honorable mention. And that's the video for today. Please leave any questions or comments you might have in the section below, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.